Hey there, everybody. Or nobody yet, because it's just me talking to myself so far. Hopefully, some folks show up. So, just thought I would take a little bit to do a couple things. First of all, this is my first stream. I haven't done this before. Just thought I would give it a try and see what it's all about. I'll be muting a lot because I tend to cough a lot, unfortunately. And I might even pause my camera a couple times. So, if you see this message, I'm still here. I just had to pause my camera for a second. So, the two-pronged approach here is the learning to stream, and wanted to talk about Cinnamon, which I've been doing recently. So my two favorite desktop environments are KDE Plasma, and had been for quite a long time, and also I've always been a huge fan of Cinnamon. So the unfortunate thing for me is that I am, I guess, a bit of an Ubuntu fan. And what that means is Cinnamon, there isn't really a great option for Cinnamon on Ubuntu. Now, some people might argue that Linux Mint is, it's an Ubuntu-based distro, so therefore, why would there be an Ubuntu flavor that featured the Cinnamon desktop? And it's a fair point. It's not necessarily one I can really argue with, except for Mint has always been based on the LTS version. And saying that, I'm not entirely sure if that's 100% accurate, because it is possible at some point in the past that they had releases that were more frequent, but I don't believe they ever have. So so for me, at least for this hardware, it's a better option to be using one of the more recent versions of Ubuntu on this particular system. Now, funny enough, where I end up with this is I'm actually running Arch Cinnamon right now. And the reason for that is I actually made a video not that long ago about Cinnamon. Go to my channel here. And that happened to be Cinnamon on top of Arch. No. Cinnamon on top of Ubuntu. And what I did was I installed Cinnamon on top of a netboot install of Ubuntu 1904, and then used the Embrocin PPA. And the PPA itself is it is Cinnamon 4.0.2, if I'm not mistaken. And so it is at least a relatively new, recent version. You can actually see. Yes. So Disco 1904, it's 403. Okay. Well, some stuff. So I'm not entirely sure their naming conventions here, versioning. I believe it was Cinnamon 4. Let's see. Not 403. No. 409.1. Okay, that's completely wrong. So this is a relatively recent version, May of this year. But in the meantime, what has happened is that Linux Mint 19.2 has been released, and there's a new version of Cinnamon 4.2. And so what I wanted to do was to try that out. And what I found is that on Ubuntu, apparently it is the Cinnamon development, because it is Mint's desktop and Mint is based on the LTS release of Ubuntu, that it can be difficult to compile because on the 1904 version, because so many dependencies are based on the LTS release, and so it's not like that you can just take it and then recompile it right on 1904. I suppose you can. I don't understand packaging well enough to know how to do that, so it's something I'd like to learn at some point, but for now, it's not something that I know how to do. So I'm relying on others. And like I said, Emerson, I'm not sure how quickly he will be updating this. And maybe soon enough, I'll be able to just run this on an Ubuntu base. But in the meantime, I was looking for other options. And so basically, your options would be like a rolling release where, Arch, OpenSUSE, Tumbleweed, I guess something like Gentoo, or there's probably others that I'm not thinking of. But so I thought, okay, let's see what I could do for Arch and see if they have it. And of course, they do have the most recent version. So yesterday I installed Arch and then installed Cinnamon. And so the Cinnamon install on Arch doesn't include a lot of the stuff that Mint has. So for instance, if I fire up VirtualBox and look at Mint 19.2 Cinnamon, so there are quite a number of programs installed on here that are GNOME based. So the calculator, many of these are GNOME, and then also Mint themselves have their own X apps, and they also have their own utilities that they develop. But even just things like HexChat and LibreOffice and just all of the pre-installed packages. There's really nothing like this whenever you do the install for Cinnamon on Arch. So I've been spending a lot of time putting together different, installing all the packages and things I need. So I've got some things installed, particularly the stuff that I use day to day, but there's a lot of things that just aren't really on here yet. So I'm still working through all that, and that's fine. But what I do get is a modern version where I've got Cinnamon 4.2.3, which is the latest release as far as I know. And everything's working great, and I'm really enjoying it. So let's take a look at the right desktop here. Let's take a look at the highlights of the 4.2 release. So we have performance updates, which are great. And Cinnamon already runs pretty well for me. I know that's one of the complaints of some people, is that Cinnamon doesn't, I guess, maybe it's sluggish or they don't like it. because it runs and uses so much RAM. So, I mean, and even they say here, and I agree, like if you are, I mean, they're saying that it uses 67 megs of RAM compared to 95 for 4.0. And, that is obviously a good increase. Well, improvement, a decrease. And, so I guess they're focused on performance because that's the kind of feedback they're getting, is that, maybe performance could be improved. I don't have any issues on this system, at least. I mean, I've got, 16 gigs of RAM, and this doesn't actually show me that. Let's look at Inksy. Really? Yay. Yes. I know there are other ways to do this, but I like Inksy. And what is it? Inksy.-a. Maybe. Oh, you guys can't even see that because I'm on the wrong desktop. There we go. So, no, Inksy.g-g. No, that's graphics. -a. I'm such a noob. I don't even know how to use this thing. All right, so 16 gigs of RAM, Core i7 8750. It's a beefy machine, so it's not like it's not like I have any issues running this system with a heavier desktop. So GNOME runs fine, Plasma runs fine, and so them going from 95 megs to 67 for someone like me doesn't really make that big of a difference. But the making optimizations to Muffin, to VSync without requiring a restart, some of the improvements they've made to the menu and things like that. And really that's what it is. So it's more of a stability, performance-based release, and then iteratively they're just making it better with each successive release. So I'm really not going to go through every single feature here, because honestly, I use Cinnamon and I do appreciate the features that are in here. I don't personally hang on the release notes and every single thing that comes out, but obviously they've put a lot of work into this, and it is definitely a very noticeably cleaner release. Like, there are things that let's see, what can I show? I mean, I just love the aesthetic of it. What is it about Cinnamon, right? Why do I even care and like Cinnamon? So it's sort of the cross between the power and flexibility and configurability of Plasma and the GTK smoothness and I don't know. There's something about a cleanness, a cleanliness, a font rendering, something about it that is for GTK based desktops that really are very appealing to me. I mean, from the font rendering all the way down to the theming itself. So you see here I'm running Arch Cinnamon, but I've obviously installed all of the Mint based stuff. So I've got the Mint themes. And I think they do a really great job on these. Personally, I think this aesthetic itself is very clean, very pretty. They have a nice dark variant of everything. So you can pretty easily switch between light and dark, and it's a very appealing look. um, for, you know, if you prefer the dark themes. I am a light theme fan, so that's why I have everything set to light themes. But I do keep this dark because I'm not a complete animal. I do like to have the bar be dark. I don't like a bright menu. It's so weird because I don't mind the applications themselves, but I don't like a dark menu. So, what else? There's just the control panel. This is somewhere. This is what I'm saying. So this is somewhere between Plasma and something like GNOME or yeah, I guess that's the best comparison. So Plasma just has everything and more, and GNOME has what it has, and it has a very nice control panel. There's lots of stuff you can change, but you do. I tend to need the tweak tool to be able to get things done, and also extensions and things like that. So I do find myself doing a lot more external customization, if you will, versus Plasma, which is a lot of just built-in customization that you can make. And then Cinnamon is just, to me, it's somewhere in the middle. So I can do all of the, you know, the same things that I can do in Plasma, but it's not as overwhelming, where Plasma just has menu upon menu upon menu. And I think Cinnamon does a very good job of bringing to the forefront the specific things. And this is, I would say XFCE is close to that as well. I don't like XFCE as much as I like Cinnamon, but it's very similar in terms of like just more sort of compartmentalized, easier to find options, things like that. But I think they do a really great job with this. And you know, the more I use it, the more I appreciate the fact that it is pretty easy to navigate around and has the right number of features for what I'm trying to do. So, trying to think of a standout feature in here. And I can go through a couple of the things that I normally will change. So obviously all the themes, and to get the Mint themes on Arch or any other version, you basically just need to, well, that's funny, I thought it was a window I had to close. You need to go to their GitHub. So on their GitHub page, they have the themes. So you would clone Mint themes with Git, and then you have the Mint Y. You have Y and X icons. I really only use the Y, the X are the older ones. So you would also clone the Y icons, and then I still have it on here. Not no, I think I threw them away, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. No, I guess I did. So the themes, you have to compile them. So you have to have Ruby SAS installed and make and some. I think that's it. And then you have to actually run the make, and it goes through with a Ruby SAS script and actually pulls out the SVGs and creates all the different sizes of the icons and stuff that end up in user share. So for icons, you know, you've got all your icons here for the different, you know, places that they're needed and applications and all that. And then under themes, same deal. And you know, and it compiles all these for you. And then when you're done with that, then you copy them into share icons and share themes. You can also put these in your local folder. Nope. Try that again. Yeah. If you had icons, you could copy them here. Themes. The reason I don't is because things like Flatpaks will be looking under the user folder, under user directory, and not necessarily under your home, because the limited access that some of those applications have. So I believe I'm correct in that. My experience has shown me that it's better to have them system wide, and that's really the difference. So if you have them under user, that's system wide versus your local share is just for your user. And all right. So yes. So what else do I change? So I have all my fonts, all my themes. And I know that's really boring to just make it look like Mint, but it's really the aesthetic I like. And what else do I change? I like that under Windows and behavior, this is set to center automatically, so that every single thing you open opens in the center of the screen, and then just ends up log jamming on top of each other. And so what I prefer to do is to have it be automatic, and then what happens is when you open things, it will tend to push them off instead of stacking them directly on top of each other. It will either do this layered stack or actually put the window in a completely different place. Make a change on OBS here real quick. Just testing something here because I'm a noob. Nope. Yeah, it works there. All right, well. All right. So what are some of the other things I like about Cinnamon? Well, let's see. I think we've joked about it in the past, but in terms of a file manager, I think that Nemo is very solid, and honestly, I like it just as much as I do Dolphin. And they are very similar. They have a lot of the same capabilities. I think Dolphin, you know, way more customizable in terms of you can literally drag and rearrange everything in Dolphin. You can, in Dolphin, you can literally just drag panels from left to right, up and down. You can mix it up and match it however you want it to be. I never do that. I don't tend to break away from this paradigm of, folder structure on the left and files on the right. The things that I really appreciate are you have all three views of thumbnail, list, and detail. And that's one of the things about Nautilus or GNOME files that kind of bugs me is you get either this or this. And they're coming from Windows. This list view was always one of my favorites because any folder that has an absolute ton of files in it, it can be a lot easier instead of having to scroll way up and down. I mean, not that this is that difficult. This particular folder doesn't have that much stuff in it, but for a folder that has a ton of stuff, it's nice to have it sort of filled in. I mean, it's almost sort of like the difference between just doing ls or doing ls alh and w al a w no a what is it c. Oh my goodness, what's the column view? I'm so terrible. I should know this. I thought it was wide. Wait, no. M? Is it M? I don't know. I'm tired. it's late. I should have done this earlier. Anyway, so yes. My point is that there are just times where, like, let's go to like a folder that has a ton of stuff in it. Like, so obviously thumbnail, that's huge. So list, or detail, also still huge. And I'm not saying that this is that much better, but this is just like two scrolls left and right. And to me, it's just easier to grab that. I know this is a dumb tangent, but it's just one of those things that's the way I use it. And when it doesn't have it, I really miss it. And so Dolphin and Nemo both have these, and it just works great. And it also has things like the terminal, embedded terminal, which is great. And let's see, what other plugins do I have? An image converter. So if I'm under pictures and wallpapers, so I can actually rotate, resize. I can also, under properties, under image, no, where is it? Oh. Okay, well, I guess it's resize and rotate then. I thought there was something else I could do. But anyway, so this is a nice touch to be able to do this without having to open it up in a different application and do things like that. Yeah, resize, rotate. I thought there was a... Maybe I'm wrong about that. Oh, resizing and rotating. Okay. There is another one though, which must be what I'm thinking of. And maybe it's not. Let's see. Is it under yay? No image converter. I swear there was a plugin that did different image conversions where you could actually like crop and do other things. Oh well. But there's some other extensions that I don't have installed. So there's the share plugin, which is kind of neat. So you can actually just share to different places from right within Nemo. You just right click and click share. I don't really use that, so it doesn't matter to me. But again, with that mix of configurability but simplicity, trying to find that balance. If you look at the settings under many of the applications in Plasma, they're just, it's just overkill, or it's hard to find specifically what you're looking for. Whereas I feel like this layout makes a lot more sense. How do I configure my views, behavior, and all of that? And actually, just as a comparison, let me kill this. And I think I have a Plasma install here. I may not. I went on a wild purge. I got rid of a lot of stuff. Let's see. Oh, Manjaro KD. That'll work. All right. I'm going a long way through this point. I get that, but just as a comparison. All right, so under Dolphin settings, I mean, so these are the kind of complaints that I get, right? This is a huge menu with all kinds of settings, just flyouts from the menu, and then you have shortcuts, toolbars, and then Dolphin itself. So, where do you go to look for things? So view modes, and if we look at this and just look in comparison, get back to this. In terms of just cleaner layout, I don't know. I think this is a little cleaner and easier to understand. Is it better to have fixed values versus the infinite configurability? I guess that's up to you. I think these steps make sense, but so does this. It's really, it comes down to what you like and what you're used to. So, yeah. I guess that's the best way to describe it is, all that configurability is there, but it's just a little bit cleaner and maybe a little bit better organized. So, all right, so Nemo's great. I like the menu. The search, works great. Get right to what you want. I don't know. Maybe I should have thought about this a little more, but there's something about this that just really works for me, really appeals to me, and the layout, the cleanliness of it. I know it's very boring in terms of the the layout that it doesn't have. Let's say like Mate, where you can rearrange everything. Plasma, same way. I mean, you can achieve looks in here. I mean, I have a panel at the bottom, and I can add more panels and have a panel at the top and panel at the bottom. So, you know, it is definitely something you can do. And so I can have my panel at the top. Well, here I am talking to myself again. So I can have panel at the top, panel at the bottom, and panel on the side, left and right. So there's definitely configurability. You can still customize and change things around. You can have that, you know, GNOME 2 look, that if you like that. And but I'll definitely say it doesn't seem to be quite as configurable as some other options. So but again, I just feel like they've thought of the things that I like and need and want to use, and I appreciate that they continue to just iterate and improve upon those sort of core pieces without going too crazy off in like wild tangents. And so to kind of circle back around to the original premise of this video, and I just need one more second, be right back. To circle back around to the original premise of this, looking for the perfect Cinnamon desktop experience. For me right now, I would say that this install on Arch is probably working the best for me. Mint's great. Mint has a lot of virtues, but it definitely is squarely aimed at their own sort of like set of tools, and the fact that it's based on an LTS, and that you know, I prefer something to be a little newer than that. I don't have to necessarily have a rolling distro. I don't really normally run rolling distros, but in this case, so far, this has been great. Now, Fedora has a good implementation. Like I said, OpenSUSE, Tumbleweed, SUSE. I gotta watch Michael's video again. There's definitely other options out there, but right now, for the testing I've done, and I've tried all of them, this is really what's working best. So anyway, with that, I'll just go ahead and say this was a successful first test of a stream, and I will think of other things to talk about and bring them up, and hopefully get some folks joining in. I didn't announce this at all, so I'm not surprised nobody showed up. And this was more really about testing it, but I'll go ahead and leave this out there and see if anybody has any feedback or thoughts on it, any ways to improve it, what they thought of what I did here tonight. I know this is very rambly. It's late. I've had a long week, and this is probably like the worst time to do this, but hey, you got to start somewhere. So hopefully I'll see you guys on the next one that I do, and I'll do a better job of get the word out there. And yeah, with that, have a great night, and I'll see you soon.